Hello, boys and girls, and welcome back to Ushanka Show. Stories about life in the Soviet Union. Здравствуйте, дорогие друзья! В эфире программа Ushanka Show. So recently I went quite hardcore into the topic of the Gopniks in the Soviet Union, modern Russia, and I actually have one more video I would like to make on this topic, but I decided let's take a break today and talk about something else. So today I want to tell you about my trip to Ukraine, which I did back in 2013, so it's almost like, my goodness, 9 years ago. I went there in end of May, beginning of June for about 10 days or so. So in 2013, I traveled via Iberian Airlines, so that's a Spanish airlines. And the reason I tried different airlines because I would like to pick the flight that I can stay overnight on the way back to United States so I can explore a different country. If you follow Ushanka Show, you may recognize this door, this so-called Paradnaya or Подъезд, so that's the entry into my apartment building where I lived for many years before I moved to America. It was featured in my video My Brezhnevka, where I showed in detail our circa 1979-1980, so it's a Brezhnev era 9-story high apartment building, so-called Kooperativny apartment building, so that's what people had to pay to buy those apartments. And the only reason I took this picture because my Paradnaya never looked so good even as building was brand new, and that's because, so this is 2013. A year prior, Kiev and general Ukraine got some funds to make city look prettier, so this is more like putting lipstick on a pig, but they put this tile work on the floor and on the walls and made entry way more attractive than it used to be. And they also added on the right that little ramp so the wheelchairs or baby strollers can be pushed up easier. We never had that. Soviet Union was extremely unfriendly place for the handicapped people. Upon arrival on the same evening, my brother and I went to go shopping to the local Home Depot store. It doesn't call, of course, Home Depot, but home improvement store, to buy some tools to take to my mother into the village. And I saw this beautiful car parked in the front of the store. So this is ZAZ 968 Zaporozhets, and it was a nicely, looks like restored and painted, kind of interesting pink color, definitely not original. This car was manufactured with minor improvements, but basically same model, not changed much, for 14 years, from 1968 to 1980. In 1971 they slightly changed a little front parts and bumped the engine from 30 horsepower to 40 horsepower. So yeah, but cool car. And actually back in the village I used to get a ride in one of those once in a while. And just to comparison to see the size of this car, so I'm about 6'2". So you see car is pretty tiny. As I said, 40 horsepower engine. It's a rare engine, so just like Porsche, air cooled. This car had a pretty good clearance, so you could go, and it's rear-wheel drive, so you could go quite a good on the dirt. And for the looks, they installed the old-fashioned license plate in the front. This license plate disappeared around middle of 1980s. They changed to the European style, so that's original black license plate with white letters, and Key E, it stands for Kiev. And here you see the happy reunion. So this is Valera, a good friend of mine. We were like the best friends in the 9th and the 10th grade, so this is like a Soviet high school. I kind of started drifting away from my old friends. I live in the United States, they live in Ukraine, kind of like slowly losing contact. But I met her mother by accident on the street when I came to Kiev, and she said that Valera really wanted to meet me. So I gave him a call and came to his place, where of course we had some alcohol and good chatter. So this is 2013, so we both, she born in 71, so we're talking about 42-year-olds right here. And just for the giggles, so this is the picture of us, Valera to the right, I'm in the middle, of course, the dorkiest dude imaginable, and my friend Alex on the left. So this picture was taken, I believe, in the winter of 1986 when we were 15. So as you see, Valera changed quite a bit. Well, I changed too, but Valera kind of added quite a bit on his face. And there's another photo of Valera. This is 1988 when we finished high school. And I was a little bit envy because he was placed right next to Ira, the girl I had a horrible crush on in the 8th grade. And that crush was so hilarious because the whole 8th grade I wanted to go to school. I hated weekends, well, Sundays, because that's the only day we didn't go to school. We went to school 6 days a week, so including Saturday. And I couldn't wait till Monday so I can go back to class and see Ira. And Valera got placed right next to her in our photo album back in 1988. And Valera is definitely, we didn't talk about it, he's probably one of those guys that really misses the Soviet Union, because his career got a huge impact, negative impact, after collapse of the Soviet Union, because he went to military college, Военное училище, to be officer of anti-aircraft missiles. And those guys were always posted like in Hungary, East Germany, to outskirts of country. So that's the best jobs you can get is to serve in Eastern Germany or Hungary, Czechoslovakia. But he was in college when Soviet Union went belly up. So he ended up in the forest somewhere in the western Ukraine, middle of nowhere. And so, yeah, it didn't work out for him really well. His father, who was in the same field, military officer during the Soviet days, he actually served in Kuwait when the Soviets sold their missile systems. I think I talked about it. This is kind of silly picture. You may recognize the guy. It's a Johnny Depp, or he is a Ukrainian version. I took the photo on the subway train when the next morning I went to that outdoor gym that I used to go for many years. It's kind of like my tradition. I'll just go there for a little workout, and I noticed this guy on the train, so I took a photo. And here's that famous Ostrov Kuka, Cook's Island. It was actually featured even in National Geographic many years ago. Free to use in open air gym. Amazing place. You could hear from a far distance the clean of these chains, because every piece of equipment chained to prevent from being stolen. And that's where I worked out for many years, and I love this place. And that workout place made a huge impact on me. So this is just for giggles again, a photo of Comrade Sergey, circa 1989. So that's before I started working out. Believe it or not, but it's the same guy, Comrade Sergey, 7 years later in 1996. I took this photo while visiting, obviously, Hollywood. I went to LA to visit my cousin, and while we were in the Griffith Park. Actually, I'm right now translating my book right at that episode. I asked the girl that was with me to take a picture with the Hollywood background and me doing a famous bodybuilding stance or pose, whatever you call it. And there is a picture of my father, Nikolai, born in 1946, and my brother, Artyom, born in 1986. So my father was 40 years old when he became a father for the second time. So there is a 15-year difference in age between my brother and I. So I was pretty much like a second father for him. And another family photo, so this time I'm standing next to my father. I got quite taller than him, but it's kind of weird because I always remember, as a kid that my dad was always quite tall, but apparently I'm way taller than him now. And that's how my parents looked when they were in their early 20s. So this picture taken sometimes around 1972. So that's 40 years before a picture was taken in 2013. So my brother and I took a bus from Kiev up north through Chernigov to the town called Snovsk. And it's about 208 kilometers, so about 3 hours or so riding on the bus. And if you look at the old Soviet maps, that small town used to be called Shors. That was the name of the one of the revolutionary Civil War leaders, Shors, who was born in Snovsk, but after Ukraine became independent, not right away, but because in 2013 it was still called Shores, but then several years after that they returned the original historical name Snovsk. So here you see our bus during the rest stop in Chernihiv. So it's about 90 miles away from Kiev, about 2 hours drive. And I just find it hilarious. There's the guy who's doing perfect squat, having a smoke. So he was sitting on the bus for 2 hours. Then he gets out of the bus for a smoke and he squats. So that's pretty funny. In the front window of the bus, it has that little sign says Shores that tells you which town this bus is going to. So people maybe be standing on the side of the road that need a ride, and they see it going to the right town. They will try to stop the bus, and on the back side of that sign it says Kiev. So on the way back you will just flip the sign when you drive back to the capital of Ukraine. And here's my brother giving me a stink eye, wondering why I'm taking the stupid pictures. Unfortunately, he also got in the bad habit of smoking, so he is smoking in this photo. And the owner is a private person, so he couldn't stop at the regular bus station, so they just pulled on the side of the road in a town where there's some bushes, so if people need to use the bathroom really bad, they can run to bushes. And now we see two guys squatting, having a smoke, and once again some people will start doing the silly rhymes about heels to the sky, Western spy. Those guys definitely no spies, but they just squat how they like it. So one is doing one leg squat just like I do, another guy does the proper Gopnik squat. And I never pay attention to that stuff before, but now since we got into this Gopnik topic, I kind of chuckled when I noticed that on my photos. So it was about 4 p.m. on Friday when we arrived to this town of Shors. Now it's called Snovsk, as I mentioned earlier. And it's so sad because I remember this bus station be like super busy. It was like bustling with traffic. There was a bus pulling in, pulling out. All these benches were occupied by babushkas, by grandmas, with their bags coming from the market, and it was like completely empty. And it was only a couple of buses coming and going during the day. And now, like we're talking 2020, 21, this station got completely abandoned and shut down because they completely stopped any bus traffic going through this station. So I was the only person at this waiting area in the bus station, plus those two taxi guys in their Lada's car. One on the left is kind of the rusty red color, that's original Kopeyka, the very first Lada, and the one to the right, it's maybe it's 03 or 06, the newer one, so they're waiting for the passengers like me. But I had no use for them because I needed to buy a refrigerator for my mother. And this is, I told you a story, I put all my trust into capitalism that evening. So just a year prior, in 2012, I believe that's the year, I helped my mother to buy this, not a little house in the village that she originally came from. And then when I came in 2013 to visit, she said that she would like to have a refrigerator. So that was my plan. We're gonna come to Shors, that town, and we will purchase a refrigerator because they had a couple of stores now, and we will have a delivery, and the deal will be we'll buy a refrigerator with delivery to the village, and you will bring us along. So without any phone calls, I just told my brother, I'll give you, dollars, go run around, check a couple stores, and buy a refrigerator, get the deal with delivery, and I'll wait for you here at the bus station. So that was quite a gamble on my side because back in the Soviet days, there was no way you can purchase a refrigerator like that, just walk in the store. You will get yourself on the list maybe a month or two later by making sure you stay on the list, then it'll be your turn to purchase a refrigerator. I was like, okay, we have a capitalism now for over, 1991, so over 20 years. So I bet you there'll be people who'll be interested to take my dollars, sell me the refrigerator, and provide delivery in the same night. So that was the gamble, that was the plan. I just showed you the photos of our old refrigerator that we still have in Kiev. My parents purchased it back in 1971, the year I was born, and they still use it. I bought a newer, taller, better one. But guess what? About an hour later, there was a small delivery truck with my brother smiling, with the fridge in its bag, ready to go. And the hardest part was to find a driver that was not drunk yet because it was Friday night. So to buy a fridge was no problem. Take American dollars, no problem. He had to call 3 times till they found someone who wasn't drunk yet and could do delivery. And it's hard to explain this feeling, when this power of money, because when you lived in a socialist society, no one really cared about your money. It was all about connections, about blood. So you had the power of blood and you could buy things you needed. And now it's changed. So just the average guy like me could just arrange stuff like that, purchase a fridge, set up a delivery in the same evening, and bring fridge and ourselves to our mother. And of course, our mother was extremely happy to see both of her sons arrive in the same time. She already had a great food prepared, borscht, blincy, fresh veggies and stuff. So that's one of the reasons I love to visit my mom, is to get that good food. That, I mean, my wife is a great cook, but my mom just cooks that, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it was good food. And of course, I was extremely curious to see what kind of house my mother decided to purchase, because, you know, my brother just sent me a couple of photos and he said it's $2,000. So I was like, well, you know, you can buy even whatever for $2,000. So besides a house which was built sometimes in the 1950s, and it was one of the so-called premium type of homes in our village, because it's built from the limestone blocks, not from the wood. So it lasts longer. It has really tall ceilings. It's large rooms. Of course, there's no running water and no plumbing. Just pretty much all you have is just electricity and no other conveniences in the house. It had a couple of outbuildings, like a small barns when people used to keep pigs, chickens, and cows. Windows were old, so I ended up someone come and measuring and replacing them with modern windows. There was another like $700. But pretty nice place. My mom was really happy. She likes to stay busy and to have her own place, so she really enjoys her house. Well, my friends, if you enjoyed this lone and boring video from Ushanka Show, please let me know in the comments. I have more stories to tell about that trip of 2013. We explored my mother's grandparents' old house, went fishing, went swimming, went mushroom hunting. So if you think you're interested to learn more, let me know in your comments. Otherwise, we'll talk to you soon. До свидания. Goodbye. Hey, by the way, cool merch for cool comrades is available at the Ushanka store at teespring.com. Just a friendly reminder that my book American Diaries is available on amazon.com, or shoot me an email if you would like to have a signed copy. Thank you. And if you love my channel and would like to show your support, please click on the link below this video and become the patron of the Ushanka Show. For as little as $1, you can help us grow and create the new, interesting videos about the life in Soviet